The system was quiet. Stars burned in the distance, their cold light falling across the black void. Trade ships moved slowly between stations, carrying food, metals, and small luxuries from one colony to another, for the people of the system. It was another normal day. Nothing strange, nothing dangerous, nothing to fear, and then everything changed. The first warning came as a soft alarm, a single alert on the edge of the defense network, a blip, strange and heavy, far away but moving closer. At first, the watch officer thought it was an error. Sensors often flickered when debris drifted too close, or when old satellites sent back broken signals. But the blip did not fade. It grew stronger. It grew larger. The officer leaned forward. His mouth went dry. He looked again, and this time the computer confirmed it. This was no error. Something massive had entered the system. The alarm grew louder. Red lights filled the control deck. Other officers rushed to their stations, shouting orders, checking screens, trying to understand. A voice finally broke the noise, sharp and terrified. "It's a warship. Human class." The words struck like lightning. Every officer froze. Their eyes widened. Their hands trembled. A human warship. The command station erupted with panic. Humans were not welcome here. Humans were not even supposed to be near this sector. Decades ago, treaties had been signed, borders fixed, rules made. The humans had kept to their space, and everyone else had kept to theirs. That was how peace survived. That was how whole civilizations stayed safe. But now, a human warship was here, unauthorized, unannounced, alone. The council was called. Leaders gathered in the high chamber above the planet's surface. News traveled fast, too fast. Whispers filled the markets, the streets, even the schools. Mothers pulled their children inside. Traders closed their stalls. Everyone remembered the old stories, stories of human fleets, stories of burning worlds, stories of enemies crushed in hours. The humans were not like the others. They fought with a strange madness. They built ships that were more weapon than vessel. And when they came to battle, they never stopped. Not until the enemy was gone, the council argued. Some shouted for defense fleets to form at once. Others screamed for silence, that no one should provoke the warship. A few suggested sending messages, asking for peace, asking for explanation. But fear broke every word into panic. No one trusted the humans. No one ever trusted them. Meanwhile, the ship kept moving, slow, silent, unstoppable. It crossed the system's edge, passing dark comets and broken moons. Its shadow spread across scanners, a shape far larger than anything the locals had ever built. Its weapons were hidden, but everyone knew they were there. Heavy cannons, torpedoes, lasers sharp enough to cut through fleets like paper. And yet, it did not fire. The defense stations held their breath. Dozens of ships followed the warship on their screens. No signals came out, no lights flashed from its hull. It was as if the human ship drifted in total silence, watching, waiting, choosing. The longer it moved, the deeper the fear grew. On one of the orbital stations, a young officer whispered to his partner, "Why is it alone? Why no fleet?" His partner shook her head. "One ship is enough." The words were true. Everyone knew it. A single human warship was equal to dozens of alien cruisers. Against weak patrols like theirs, it would be no battle at all, just a slaughter. The system's commander finally gave an order: send a message, demand identification. Signals were broadcast. Bright codes filled the void, crossing the black between ships and planets. The words were clear: this system is sovereign. Identify, state purpose, or you will be removed. But no answer came. Minutes passed, then an hour. The silence felt like a knife twisting deeper. What kind of ship ignores a direct warning? What kind of captain refuses to speak? Only one answer formed in the minds of the council, a human one. The warship came closer still. Its engines burned with quiet power. Its hull gleamed in the light of the twin suns. Every eye in the system followed its slow approach. Families gathered near windows, watching the streak of cold silver move across the sky. Soldiers gripped their weapons, though they knew weapons meant nothing against such a ship. Some prayed, others prepared for death. And still, no explanation. On the main defense deck, the commander slammed his fist against the console. "Why are they here?" he growled. His voice was low, filled with fear he could not show. "Why now?" No one answered. The truth was simple. No one knew, and that was worse than any weapon, because a human warship never moved without purpose. Fear spread like fire through the system. In every corner, from the highest council chambers to the smallest homes, the same whispers grew louder and louder. A human warship had entered their skies, unauthorized, silent, alone, and yet, its presence was heavier than any invading fleet. The old stories returned. Every child had heard them once, but now they were repeated with trembling voices as if speaking them might somehow keep disaster away. Stories of the first encounters with humanity, when whole coalitions of proud empires had faced their fleets and fallen. Stories of planets that had burned under human bombardment, their seas turned to steam, their skies blackened with ash. Stories of how humans never stopped fighting, no matter the cost, no matter the odds. Even now, many could not understand how such a small species had become so feared. They were fragile compared to most. Their lifespans were short, their bodies were weaker than those of other races. But where others broke, humans did not. Where others surrendered, humans fought until there was nothing left. And in every battle, their ships carried the same promise: destruction, swift and absolute. In the council chamber, the voices of leaders clashed like thunder. Some demanded war preparations. "We must not show weakness," one shouted, his scaled hands slamming against the polished table. "If we bow now, they will take everything." Another voice rose, shaking with anger and fear. "Do you not remember the last war? Do you not remember what happened to the Varen worlds? A single human fleet reduced them to dust. Dust. Do you wish the same for us?" A third leader spoke more quietly, but her words cut deeper. "They should not be here at all. By treaty, this space is forbidden to them. Why do they break it? Why now?" No one had an answer. From the great windows of the chamber, the warship was visible in the distance, a silver shadow against the stars. Its slow movement was not the rush of an attacker. It was deliberate, almost patient, as though the humans had all the time in the universe. The council could feel that patience like a blade against their throats. One of the younger advisors leaned close to his mentor and whispered, "Why would they send only one? No escort, no fleet, just one ship." The old mentor's eyes closed, heavy with memory, because one ship is enough. The words traveled quickly. They echoed through the chamber, down the halls, across the cities, carried in messages and hushed conversations. The people believed them. They had seen the records, the battles fought long ago, when humans had proven that even a single warship of their kind could break through enemy defenses and leave nothing standing. And so the fear grew deeper. On the orbital stations, soldiers prepared in silence. Their cruisers and patrol ships drifted into defensive lines, weapons armed, shields ready. They spoke little, for every one of them knew the truth. If the humans wanted war, no preparation would matter. Yet duty demanded they stand ready, even if it meant their deaths. Families hid inside their homes, watching from windows as the silver warship moved closer. Children asked questions their parents could not answer. Will they attack us? Will we die? The parents tried to soothe them, but their voices shook. Their eyes betrayed the same dread. Merchants closed their markets. Lights went dark across cities. The system itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting. And still, the warship gave no sign of purpose, no reply to messages, no signal of peace. No threat either, only silence. The commander of the defense fleet stood before his officers, his face hard but his hands clenched tight behind his back. "We cannot fire first," he said, his voice low. "If we strike, we invite our end. If we wait, perhaps there will be explanation. Or destruction," one officer muttered bitterly. The commander heard, but he did not answer. His gaze stayed on the giant shape drifting closer on the tactical screen. It filled the display, its engines burning softly, steady as the heartbeat of a predator. Time dragged on. Seconds felt like minutes, minutes like hours. The silence pressed heavier, crushing the will of those who watched. Fear twisted into suspicion. Some began to wonder if the humans were testing them, watching how quickly they panicked, how fast they broke. Others believed this was no accident at all, but the beginning of a message written in steel and fire. In the lower districts of the capital, an elder told the children a story, her voice trembling. She spoke of a battle fought long before they were born, when 3 empires had joined to fight a single human fleet. The battle lasted less than a day. At sunset, the humans stood, victorious, their ships scarred but unbroken. The elder's voice cracked as she ended the tale. "And that is why we fear them, children, not because they are many, but because even one is enough." The children listened in silence, their wide eyes fixed on the sky where the silver warship burned. Above them all, the human ship kept its path. No rush, no warning, no mercy in its silence. And the people of the system knew, with growing dread, that whatever reason had brought it here, it was a reason beyond their control. But when humans came, they never came without purpose. The silence could not last forever. The council knew it. The defense commanders knew it. Even the frightened citizens hiding inside their homes understood that sooner or later someone had to speak. The human warship would not simply drift past their worlds and vanish. It was here for a reason no one yet understood. The order was given. Long-range transmitters turned toward the intruder. A message, strong and clear, crossed the void. It was a demand, though spoken with care. Identify yourself. State your purpose. This system is sovereign. You are not authorized to be here. The words repeated in a dozen languages, flashing on every band of communication. Impossible to ignore. But the warship ignored it. The silver giant kept moving. Slow and heavy, its engines glowing like the eyes of a predator. Not a single response came back. The council chamber filled with arguments again. One side shouted that silence was proof of hostility. Another said patience was the only way to survive. Voices rose until they cracked, fear choking every word. The orbital defense deck officers leaned closer to their screens. Maybe they didn't hear, one suggested, though his voice trembled with disbelief. No ship of that size could miss a broadcast. The humans were listening. They simply chose not to answer. A second message was sent. This one sharper, colder. You are violating treaties. You are violating boundaries. Explain yourself now or face consequences. The commanders knew the threat was hollow. No fleet in this system could stop a human warship if it chose violence. Yet pride demanded they speak the words. Pride and fear. Still, no answer. The waiting became unbearable. Minutes stretched into an hour. Ships moved nervously in orbit, adjusting positions. Trying to look ready though, every captain knew they were hopelessly outmatched. Soldiers checked their weapons, though none of them would ever be close enough to use them. The people in the cities whispered in the dark, praying that someone, somewhere, would break the silence. Then, at last, a signal came. It was not a long speech. It was not an explanation. It was not even a negotiation. It was a voice, a human voice, clear and calm, filling every channel at once. The words were simple. Stand down, do not interfere, and then silence again. The council chamber froze. Every leader, every advisor, every guard in the room stood without moving, as if the air had turned to stone. The message was too short, too sharp, too cold. It carried no kindness, no respect, no attempt at peace. It was not a request. It was a command. Some felt their anger rise. How dare they speak to us like that? One leader growled. His scales rippled with fury, though everyone could see the fear behind it. We are not their servants. We are not their subjects. Another leader whispered in reply, and yet, we obey because we must. In the streets, the people asked what the words meant. Were the humans warning them to stay back because destruction was coming? Or were they protecting something? Number one knew. The uncertainty spread like poison. The unknown was worse than the threat itself. On the defense deck, the commander clenched his jaw. The voice haunted him. It was too steady, too calm, no panic, no stress. Whoever had spoken those words was not afraid of fleets or councils or entire civilizations. That calmness was worse than rage. Rage could be reasoned with. Calmness meant certainty. He looked around at his officers. Keep monitoring. Do not fire, do not provoke, but be ready. The officers nodded, though their eyes betrayed their doubt. Ready for what? No amount of readiness would save them if the humans decided otherwise. The warship powered more systems. Shields flared into place, faint blue arcs rippling across its hull. Weapons came online, their signatures unmistakable. Engines glowed brighter. It was no longer drifting, it was preparing. The council panicked. Messages flew back and forth between planets and stations. Some demanded a preemptive strike. If we wait, they will destroy us first, one leader cried. Others shouted for surrender, even before the first shot was fired. A few begged for more communication, for more patience, for a chance that the humans had come for reasons other than war. But the only words the humans had given were already burned into every heart. Stand down, do not interfere. Why should they not interfere? What was coming that required silence, obedience, and stillness? The people of the system could only watch as the warship drew closer. Its size filled the skies above their worlds, a shadow blocking out the stars. The command to stand down echoed in their minds, growing heavier with each second, and beneath the fear, a darker question began to form. If this was only the beginning, what came next? The words still hung in the air. Stand down, do not interfere. They replayed across stations, across cities, across every mind in the system. No one dared to turn off the channels. No one dared to forget them. The silence that followed was worse than the command itself. Silence meant mystery. Silence meant power. Silence meant the humans did not care to explain themselves at all. On the defense decks, crews worked with shaking hands. Screens showed the warship moving closer, slow but certain. Its shields glowed brighter, its weapons came alive one by one. Energy spikes flashed across scanners, missiles armed, cannons charged, torpedo bays open. Each reading was a warning, and each warning pressed heavier on the hearts of those who watched. The council demanded answers. "We must know why they are here," one leader shouted, his face pale with terror. "Are we to sit like children and wait for death?" Another slammed the table, his voice breaking with rage. "We should strike first. Better to fight standing than die waiting." But no one truly believed victory was possible. The commanders knew it, the council knew it, even the people hiding in their homes knew it. The legends of human warships were not legends at all. They were history. Bloody, undeniable history. Entire fleets had faced them and been torn apart in minutes. If this ship fired, the system would not survive the day. Yet the warship had not fired. Not yet. It moved with patience, almost with purpose, as though waiting for something unseen. That patience was worse than an attack. At least an attack would give clarity. Patience only brought fear. A young officer whispered to his superior, "Why are they waiting?" His superior did not answer. No one could. The unknown was a blade, sharper than any weapon in the cities below. Panic simmered. Families packed their belongings, though there was nowhere to run. Refugee ships clustered in the docks, their engines ready, but everyone knew escape was impossible. If the humans wished it, no vessel would make it past the system's edge. Still, preparing for flight gave people something to do, some illusion of control. Merchants locked their stores. Priests filled the temples, chanting prayers that echoed through the night. Children clung to their parents and asked questions no one wanted to answer. Why are they here? Will they hurt us? Are we going to die? Mothers kissed their children's heads and spoke soft lies. No, little one, no, we are safe. But their eyes betrayed the truth. Above it all, the warship continued its slow advance. On the defense command deck, the fleet commander stood tall, though his fists were tight. Behind his back, he looked at the officers around him. Their faces were pale, their breaths shallow. He spoke firmly, though every word weighed heavy on his throat. "We cannot move against them. We cannot fire unless fired upon. Do you understand? If they want war, they will have it. But we will not give them reason." The officers nodded, but their silence told the truth. Reason was not something humans ever needed. Still, the fleets positioned themselves. Cruisers formed a line before the planet. Smaller ships patrolled the edges. Stations locked weapons in place. Alarms pulsed through the night sky. From the ground, the citizens could see the glowing arcs of defense grids above their world. Fragile shields trembling against the coming storm. And yet, no storm fell. Instead, something worse arrived. The warship adjusted course. Its engines roared louder, brighter, more focused. It was no longer drifting. It was no longer pretending calm. It was preparing for action. Scanners screamed with readings. Weapon bays fully charged. Shield arrays stabilized. Engines at maximum output. The human ship was awake now, alive with power. Every system ready for battle. On the council floor, fear turned into chaos. "It is war," one leader cried. "They mean to destroy us." Another shouted over him, "No, wait, there must be a reason, there must be." Their voices tangled in panic, filling the chamber with noise and confusion. Only one voice stayed quiet. An older leader, his eyes locked on the great windows where the warship glowed like a second sun. His voice was low, almost a whisper, yet it carried through the chamber. "They told us not to interfere. Perhaps something is coming. Something worse than us, worse than them." The room fell into silence. The thought chilled everyone deeper than the warship itself. What if the humans were not here to attack? What if they were here to fight something else, something hidden, something yet unseen? No answers came. Only the warship, burning brighter, preparing, waiting. And so the system balanced on the edge of fear. Some wanted to strike, to prove they were not weak. Others wanted to surrender before the first shot. Most wanted only to survive, though survival no longer felt like their choice. Above them all, the human warship loomed, its silence louder than any threat. It carried mystery like a weapon, and that weapon was more dangerous than guns or bombs. The people stared into the night sky, hearts pounding, breaths shallow, waiting for the moment when silence would finally break. The scanners caught it first. A flicker at the far edge of the system, small and quick, almost hidden beneath the noise of cosmic dust. At first, the officers thought it was nothing, a drifting rock, a broken satellite, a shadow, but then the flicker returned, stronger, sharper, not one but many, the defense deck filled with voices, unidentified signals, multiple contacts detected, movement on the outer rim. Alarms screamed across every ship and station. The silver warship was not alone in this system after all, but the new signals were not human. The images came into focus. Sleek ships, dark and jagged, breaking from the shadows, raiders, smugglers, pirates, their engines burned like knives across the black, cutting paths straight toward the inner colonies. They moved fast, with purpose, like predators who had been hiding, waiting for their moment to strike. The council chamber shook with realization. So that is why they are here, one leader whispered, his voice cracked with fear. Not to fight us, to fight them. The words carried like fire. A human warship had entered the system unauthorized. Yes, but maybe not as invader, maybe as hunter. The pirate fleet came closer, broadcasting nothing. No demands, no warnings, no chance for peace. Their weapons were already online. Their target was clear, the colony moon near the system's center, small and weak. Its defenses, barely more than patrol drones, dot on the surface of that moon. Families looked up to see the sky filled with streaks of fire. Children pointed, believing them to be falling stars, until the sirens began to wail. Then fear gripped every heart. The defense fleets moved at once, scrambling into formation. Orders echoed across the channels. Intercept them, hold the line, protect the colony. Ships lit up the void with bursts of plasma and streams of energy fire. But the pirates were many, too many, and they moved with deadly precision. Patrol cruisers fell quickly, their hulls torn apart by missiles. Stations fired blindly, their beams scattered, barely slowing the advance. The raiders cut through the defenses like blades through cloth, ruthless and fast. From the command deck, the fleet commander clenched his teeth. He saw it all unraveling, every formation broken, every defense collapsing. He slammed his fist against the console. We can't hold them, we need. His words stopped. He could not bring himself to say it. They needed the humans. As if an answer. The warship moved. For hours it had drifted, silent, patient, watching. Now its engines roared with terrifying force. Its great hull turned like a predator locking on prey. Energy flared across its shields, weapons glowing like suns, cannons charging until the scanners nearly burned out from the power. Then it fired. One strike, one blinding beam of light. A pirate cruiser vanished, torn into pieces before it could even send a distress call. A second strike followed, then a third. Each blast was merciless, clean, and final. Where the defense fleets struggled, the human warship carved through enemy ranks with terrifying ease. The pirates tried to scatter, but there was nowhere to run. Torpedoes launched from the warship, burning across the void before splitting into swarms of smaller warheads. 10 pirate ships erupted into fire at once. Wreckage spun across the black like broken bones. The council chamber fell into silence, every leader watching the screens with wide, unblinking eyes. No one spoke, no one breathed. The humans had acted, but not against them, against the raiders, against the threat they had not even known was waiting at their border. Still, the fear did not fade, because now they were forced to see the truth, with their own eyes. The power of one human warship was beyond anything they could imagine. It moved like a god of war, every strike final, every motion unstoppable. On the colony moon, the people watched from below as burning pirate wrecks fell through the sky. Some cheered, believing themselves saved. Others fell to their knees, knowing that the same weapons could just as easily turn on them. In the defense fleet, officers stared in awe as the human warship cut paths through the raiders, opening holes where none of their ships could have survived. One officer whispered what everyone else thought but dared not say. If they can destroy pirates, what chance do we have if they turn against us? The pirates fought desperately, but they were never meant to win. The human warship's cannons sang again and again, each note an ending. Soon the raiders were nothing more than debris drifting in the dark, glowing red with fire, and then, just as quickly as it had begun, it was over. Silence returned to the system. The defense fleets drifted, broken and scarred, their captains stunned into stillness. The colony moon lay battered but alive, and the human warship stood alone in the void, its weapons cooling, its shields dimming. Silent once again. That it had come without warning. It had spoken only once, and now it had saved them all. But the council did not feel gratitude. They felt something. colder, sharper, deeper fear, because the question that now haunted every mind was worse than any pirate raid. If the humans could come and go as they pleased, saving or destroying with equal power, then what truly stopped them from turning next upon the system itself? The system had barely begun to breathe again when the second wave came. For a short moment, everyone believed the danger had passed. The pirate fleet was broken, scattered wrecks drifting in fire. The colony moon still stood, scarred but alive. People whispered in relief. Some even dared to hope that the worst was over, but hope was fragile. It died quickly. New signals tore across the scanners. Stronger, faster, more organized. This time it was not a handful of raiders crawling from the shadows. It was a full strike force. Dozens of ships surged out from the edge of the system, their engines burning like knives, their formation tight, their weapons already hot. They had hidden themselves behind asteroids, behind the dust of the rim, waiting for the right moment. And now, when the defenses were broken and weak, they struck. The alarms returned. Red lights bathed every deck in panic. Officers shouted coordinates, commanders yelled orders, but the truth spread faster than the orders. The system could not withstand another attack. Not in this state. The pirate strike force split into 3 groups. One dived straight toward the colony moon, eager to finish what the first wave had started. Another cut through the defense fleet, ripping at the ships already battered and out of formation. The last, smaller group burned hard toward the capital planet itself. On the ground, the people saw the sky filled with streaks of fire again. Panic rose like a storm. Shelters overflowed. Families rushed underground. Some ships launched in desperation, but few made it far before the raiders cut them down. The defense fleet fought, but it was chaos. Cruisers fell one after another. Patrol craft exploded in chains of fire. Stations fired until their barrels glowed, but still the pirates came, tearing through them without mercy. And then the human warship moved again. It did not hesitate this time. Engines flared like suns, pushing the massive vessel forward with a speed that seemed impossible for its size. Its cannons lit up the void, a storm of energy and fire tearing into the nearest pirate ships. 1, 2, 3, gone in seconds. The pirates turned on it at once. Missiles streaked across the dark, dozens, then hundreds, screaming toward the silver hull. For a moment, the system held its breath. Could even a human warship survive such a storm? The missiles hit. A wave of fire covered the ship, brighter than a star. The blast shook scanners across the system. And then, as the light faded, the warship emerged. Its shields had flared like a wall of blue fire, swallowing every strike, burning the missiles to dust. The pirates hesitated, only for a second, but in that second, the warship struck back. It launched a swarm of drones, small and fast, glowing, with red light as they scattered into the battle. They darted between raider ships, slicing through engines, detonating inside hulls, tearing pirates apart from within. Each explosion lit the dark with deadly beauty. Cannons roared again, and beams of light cut entire formations in half. Torpedoes followed, splitting and splitting again until they filled the void like a rain of fire. The raiders tried to dodge, tried to flee, but the warship was everywhere. It hunted them with perfect precision. Each shot chosen, each strike, final dot from the colony moon. The people watched as the night sky became a battlefield of fire. They saw pirate wrecks fall burning through the clouds, shaking the ground when they struck. Some cheered wildly, thinking salvation had come. Others trembled, knowing they were watching a power that cared nothing for them. Salvation and destruction looked too much alike when it came from human hands. The council chamber was silent, leaders staring at the great screens. None spoke, none breathed. They had no words for what they were seeing. The warship was not fighting like an ally. It was not fighting like a protector. It was fighting like a predator, a beast unleashed, cold, perfect, merciless. Within minutes, half the pirate strike force was gone. Within 20 minutes, nearly all of them were wreckage. A few survivors tried to flee toward the rim, but the warship pursued, hunting them down with terrifying patience. Not one escaped. And then the warship slowed. The battle was over. The silence returned. But this silence was different, heavier, darker, because now the system had seen too much. Their defense fleet was broken, their ships scattered and dying, their colonies burned, their people were shaken, and through it all, one warship, a single human ship, had turned the tide with power beyond imagination. The system had been saved, yes, but not by its own strength. Saved only because the humans had chosen to act. On the defense deck, the commander lowered his head. He should have felt relief. He should have thanked the stars that his people were alive. Instead, his chest filled with dread. If this is what one ship can do, he whispered, what would a fleet bring? No one answered him because they all already knew. Above the broken system, the warship hung silent, its weapons dim, its shields fading back into the dark. Watching, waiting, untouchable. The fire still burned in the skies when the human warship stopped moving. Across the system, scanners showed no more pirate signals. The raiders were gone, their ships reduced to broken metal, their bodies drifting in silence. The battle was over, but no one celebrated. On the colony moon, people crawled out of shelters, staring at the wreckage that fell like rain. Some prayed in gratitude. Others held their families close, whispering that this was not victory. It was survival, nothing more. The defense fleet drifted, broken and scattered. Survivors counted their losses, their voices hollow. Cruisers lay in ruins, patrol craft shattered. Officers looked at their screens and felt shame. They had fought, yes, but their effort had meant nothing. The pirates had been crushed, but not by them. They had been crushed by one ship. One human ship. In the council chamber, silence reigned. Leaders who once argued, now sat without words, their faces pale, their eyes fixed on the great windows. The warship hung above their world, vast and silent, like a god of war watching from the heavens. For a long time, no one moved. No one dared to speak. Everyone waited for what would come next. The human ship did not vanish immediately. It remained, still, its weapons cooling, its shields fading into nothing. But even quiet, it radiated power. A warning without words. A reminder of what it could do if it chose. And then, the voice returned, calm, cold, clear. It spoke across every channel, every frequency, every world in the system. The people froze where they stood, listening. Your system is secure. Do not forget when humans arrive, it is never without reason. Nothing more. No promise of friendship, no offer of alliance, no demand for tribute. Just those words, sharp as blades. The council chamber shook with unease. The leaders looked at one another, but no one had an answer. What reason had brought the humans here? Was it truly the pirates? Or was there something deeper, left unsaid? On the colony moon, people whispered in fear. The humans had destroyed their enemies, yes, but they had also shown their strength. Too much strength. Strength that could shatter whole fleets and worlds in moments. The people wondered, were they saved, or had they been given a warning? The defense commander stood on his deck, staring at the great silver ship as it turned slowly away. His officers waited for him to speak, but no words came. For the first time in his long career, he did not know whether to feel relief or despair. He only knew one truth. Their system was alive only because the humans allowed it. Engines flared. The warship prepared to leave. It did not wait for thanks. It did not explain. It did not justify. It simply moved with steady grace. As though the entire system was nothing more than a checkpoint on a long journey. The people watched as it slid, across the stars, vanishing toward the rim. Some wept, others cheered, others stayed silent. None would forget what they had seen. When the ship was gone, the system felt emptier than before. Not safer, not stronger, just emptier. Because now they knew a truth they could never unlearn. One ship could destroy a fleet of raiders in minutes, then a fleet of human warships could erase entire civilizations. And there was no defense, no shield, no treaty that could stop them. The council finally spoke, quiet voices, broken by fear. What do we do now? One leader asked. No one replied. The elder leader, the one who had spoken least, finally lifted his head. His voice was soft, yet it carried across the chamber. We remember, we prepare, and we pray they never come again. In the homes of the people, the same words echoed. Parents told their children to never forget. Teachers spoke of the day a warship entered their skies. Priests warned that the humans had not saved them out of kindness, but out of need. And soldiers sharpened their weapons, knowing those weapons would never be enough. The system tried to return to normal. Markets reopened, families rebuilt, patrols launched again, but nothing was the same. Every whisper of static on the scanners brought fear. Every shadow on the rim brought panic, because now they knew the humans could come at any time. And if they came, it would always be for a reason. Far beyond the rim. The human warship vanished into slipspace, its engines fading into the void. The crew aboard said nothing, their orders complete, their mission finished. They did not wonder how the aliens below had felt. They did not ask if gratitude or terror filled their hearts. It did not matter because to the humans it had never mattered. The warship was not a messenger, not a diplomat, not a friend. It was a reminder of what humanity was, and what it could do. And so the story spread. Carried by survivors, whispered by traders, repeated by frightened voices across the stars. A dangerous human warship had entered a system unauthorized, unstoppable, unchallenged. It had fought, it had destroyed, and it had left without care. The lesson was simple: when humans arrive, you do not ask why. You only hope the reason is not you.